Since we've started with the Classical Cup, we are in our 8th edition.
Okay.
Every edition we've had a player sign pro. This is it's not a niche market, but it's the biggest sport in the world. You know, but within football there are so many categories. You know, that some people can delve into. We'd rather create better human beings. You know, so again, the ratio of players that are going to pro, the numbers are scary. I mean, in South Africa, you're looking at 1 in every 4,000. With all the talent in the world, if you do not check certain criteria, some scouts will actually just put the talent aside and move on. At one point in time, I didn't really like being like the term agent. The likes of Blackberry,
yeah,
quality player, but can he last 2 seasons?
Welcome to Biggie on Sport, another beautiful, wonderful, educative, informative episode that we're bringing for you. I've always maintained that development or sport development and sport activation on the grassroots level is a bedrock of any sporting code, if not sporting event across the globe. I think it sets, in fact, the pace and the stage for those young people who'd like to showcase their talent and potential. And my guest on this episode will be delving into such issues, looking at sports development on grassroots level. And I'm glad to introduce my guest in the studio, Kifense Mwaki. Thank you so much for joining us on Biggie on Sport.
Thank you so much for having me, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Kimang Offense or Kifense Mwaki?
So, Kifense Mwaki Prabhu ki Ntwana Kokasi.
Okay.
Tembisa to be specific.
Yeah.
Born and bred.
Yeah.
Spent most of my life in Tembisa.
Okay.
Fast forward, post-matric, went on and studied sports management.
Yeah.
Heavy follower of Kasi games, Kasi football games.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be within the football fraternity, whether it was in the back end or playing, played up to a certain level. And then, from there, I just took an interest into sports events management. Growing up in Tembisa, we followed the likes of Prafini Matebula, the owner of the Phillies games.
Philly games, yeah.
You know, so December was just, after writing exams, everybody wanted to find themselves, go Kasi, go Diklandu. And fast forward, I saw a gap in the market. I think it was in 2018 when I relocated to Boksburg.
Okay.
I had a lot of friends that were from the other side of Johannesburg East, predominantly Vosloorus, Don Park, that area. So I started attending games that side. I think I went for a year attending games that side. It was called the Vostok Diski 99.
Okay.
That was the equivalent of the Phillies games in Vosloorus, you know. But as good things come to an end, there was a 4-year hiatus, so there were no games in Vosloorus for about 4 years. You know, so we'd either go to Tembisa or Davidton. Mabuya games, Phillies games, Tsalanang, Soweto side.
Okay.
So obviously that started as to spark an interest in what I was doing. You know, so I got together with a partner of mine, Tabiso Tubazan. Initially, our story started as a five-a-side. You know, we put a five-a-side court in Don Park, Boksburg. You know, so it started gradually. I mean, we were hosting five-a-side tournaments. You know, we actually literally converted a dilapidated tennis court into a pana court. So pana is a Brazilian term that they use for courts that are not grass, but they're on clay.
Okay.
You know, so we did that for about 6 months. Obviously, when the traction was growing on, COVID hit. You know, so we had to go back to the drawing board. Obviously, everybody was locked in. And fast forward, during that space on COVID, it actually gave us some time to curate what we have now come to be known as the El Clasico Cup. You know, so El Clasico is actually a spin-off of the biggest rivalry in the world between Real Madrid and Barcelona. So we decided to say, no, hang on, we are part of 2 of the biggest teams in Vosloorus.
Yeah.
You know, so being Overland and Ama 1010. You know, so Ama 1010 had obviously split, and they were known as Super 10 before they rejoined us actually in our last edition. So that's just the background of the El Clasico Cup. And
You mentioned something very important, if not of interest. You said you played football yourself to a certain level, and looking at you, in fact, you basically espouse the structure of a football player. And I guess the viewers will be keen to find out as to at what level did you stop playing football?
So I actually took it just up until high school.
Okay.
Nothing to, because I had to sit down with myself and look at my strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
I'm a very passionate organizer, if I may. I like certain things done in a certain way.
Okay.
So every time I'd attend like a Phillies games or any other tournament, I'd always have a notepad just on the things that I would improve. So I decided after matric that trying to go pro or amateur was not really the route I wanted to take, but maybe let me look at the back end. Either administration, sports eventing, whatever could keep me within the football fraternity, and it's been a blessing because I've come across a myriad of people connections, so that have helped me shape what I have as a product today.
Your resume, if not CV, it's quite colorful. It speaks to a number of other traits besides football that you're doing. Just share with the viewers.
So professionally, I'm actually a football operations manager for a football academy, and I'm a sports rights holder. So I've got a 360-degree business where it's sports event management, as well as player and sports athlete representation. So literally it forms a pathway. We use the El Clasico Cup as a pathway, bridging the gap between players that are talented and institutions that are looking for those players. So obviously, fun fact, ever since we've started with the El Clasico Cup, we are in our 8th edition. Every edition we've had a player sign pro. I'm talking the likes of Nebo Makubu Magesi, who's playing for Magesi. He's played for one of the teams. Super 10 in Forstores. Simpiwe Masongani, who plays for Polokwane.
City.
Yes, he played for Overland. There's a boy called Kagiso Mainga. He was the last signing to a pro club. He was affiliated to AS Roma. So it's always a very insightful journey when it comes to from preparation to execution, knowing that somebody at the end of a certain tournament would go on ahead and sign pro.
So these players we've just mentioned are graduates from these institutions, basically. Yeah,
we could say that we played somewhat of a part for them to be where they are. Obviously, in the background from their sides as well, they've been trying, But I can give you an example. We had a boy, Pelelani Velase, who had signed for Swallows. It was 2023. We signed him to Swallows. That boy started with us when he was 10. I got him through Ubab Tubazana, who's been a mentor to my partner's father. He groomed him. He went through to go play UJ, Super Sport, and obviously for fitness and whatever, that he'd come back home, Overland. And from there we obviously had the network we have in the pro ranks with sporting directors, chairmen, and so forth. He started with the DDC, Swallows DDC, and eventually got promoted to the first team before the subsequent sale to Maroon Gallants.
You spoke of sports management, and I guess a lot of people would like to know if maybe you can break it down for us. Give us a blow-by-blow definition, if not account, actually, what is sports management.
So with sports management, I think it's predominantly all things off the field, how they come together. That's how I've always looked at it. To say, okay, if we've got pro athletes, there's somebody that's running the scenes behind those, the team behind the team, I like to call it. So with sports admin and management, it was primarily just, how can I put it? I'd say a culmination of what happens on the field, but what way it comes from back office side. So like I said, I'm a very passionate organizer. I like things in a certain way and things to run in a certain way that I want to see them run. So with sports management, I think if I had to divide it into two, as it says, it's sports administration and management. So I'm heavily on the management side, but I've also delved into the admin side. So the admin side is more obviously from operations. So prior to the management, just below the operations, you'll find a lot of admin. you'll find a lot of bodies. There's a lot of moving parts just below the operations part. So I actually come or fit in from the operations level going up.
So you basically not focusing only on football, but you are also focusing on other sporting codes, if I hear you correctly.
So my main focus is football,
okay.
Because I believe that this is it's not a niche market, but it's the biggest sport in the world. You know, but within football, there are so many categories, you know, that some people can delve into. I mean, I'm a qualified coach. I've also just recently got my qualification in scouting from the PFSA, Professional Football Scouting Association.
Okay.
You know, so there's a lot of pies, if I may, and I'm just trying to not spread myself thin, but I take myself to a certain niche within the fraternity.
You are watching Biggie on Sport. We say what they want to say. My guest here, it is Kefense Mwahi. He's the founder of El Cacico Cup and football, operations manager. He does so many things. You just spoke of something of interest. You mentioned that you've qualified as a scout. A young person who's sitting at home right now, or a football enthusiast, because I want us, in fact, to bring about a paradigm shift. A lot of people don't talk about football because every young person says, but they don't understand football itself as a sport. It's multifaceted. In fact, there's so many things that you can do with football, especially with a person like yourself working behind the scenes. There are sports agents out there who are representing, in fact, the affairs of the players. You just mentioned that you qualified as a sport scout. Just once again, break it down for us. A sport agent and a scout.
So, probably to give you an idea, with the sports agent side, it focuses more on the business side of football.
Okay.
You know, so with a scout, it's primarily the on-field operations of a player. You know, so the talent. You know, and we've got an ethos at the academy that I work for, that we'd rather create better human beings. You know, so again, the ratio of players that are going to pro, the numbers are scary. I mean, in South Africa, you're looking at 1 in every 4,000 kid will sign a pro contract. 4,000 is quite a lot. Yes, kid you not, properly. So we look at growing the entire human, the characteristics for preparing for life after football. And we teach it from a young age. I mean, at our academy, our youth development program starts from grade 8. We've got a club program which takes in under 13s. You know, so it's all about the holistic development of a player. You know, so I'm sure you would know that in South Africa we've always had cases where you've got the best talent, but it's not managed well. You know, and it starts at home. You know, how the player grew up, his characteristics, his personality. So all of those things are psychological to a player. You know, they can either affect the on and off field performance. So we with scouts, he literally brings the talent to the business side. With an agent, he now looks for opportunities. Okay. You know, so and he tries to manage it, because as we all know, that football is a very short career. You know, at most you're looking at 15. Some elite players go on for 20 years. You know, but what happens after? And we always get the cries of players that say, life after football. He only starts planning it when he's got 1 year with no option to renew. You know, so again, it's always advisable for players to do their due diligence when it comes to agents, because you can't really do your due diligence on a scout. A scout can literally come out of nowhere, see you, technical ability. And a lot of people think that scouts look at, and as much as we do look at the technical and tactical ability, we look at the character of a player. Like, is he someone that you can coach? Is he coachable? You know, things like determination, things like perseverance, things that are off the ball. You know, so with all the talent in the world, if you do not check certain criteria, some scouts will actually just put the talent aside and move on.
Are you only focusing on infield players? What about technical stuff, your coaching stuff? Do you also maybe go as far as scouting coaches for a particular team maybe?
So again, scouting is largely on field, but with modern football, we've got opportunities where now, but that also falls onto agents. So agents have started to revolutionize how coaches and the technical team are integrated into teams. So I've got a friend of mine who's actually an agent, and he's actually starting to focus more on the technical roles. Who places coaches, but still within his primary business is players, but he's now starting to integrate the technical teams into structures. So back then you would actually only find, that's why the coaching industry is such a small world. Coaches move in and around. So again, just to get an understanding of a day in the life of a coach, I decided to go do my coaching license. But my passion is not really there. I just wanted to understand how a coach is on the other side. So it's always nice to have a bit of knowledge across the board. It makes things easier when it comes to me wanting to plug into certain systems or processes. So again, you get quality agents in a sense that they will be able to link you with proper teams, proper organizations, and it's not always a happy relationship. People might think that Pirates, Chiefs, Sundowns are phenomenal, which they are in their own right, but again, it goes to the character development of an individual. There might not be a fit for particular institutions. So again, agents are caught in between the relationship of their client, which is a team, but they're both clients.
Both clients.
Exactly.
The player and the team, yeah.
Exactly. So it's always, they have to find a balance, to satisfy both parties. It's not always roses, but yeah, some agents actually have found a niche to do it.
But from time to time, agents have been described as somehow having this unscrupulous conduct towards their clients, especially players and stuff like that.
It's true, which is at one point in time, I didn't really like the term agent. There was a negative connotation about it. You'd find a person claiming he's an agent with 100 players under his book. It's just hoarding.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. But we all know that the top 1% or the top 10%, which is literally 10 players within that 100 network, are the ones that will always be his bread and butter. So players grow somewhat of a dislike. And unfortunately, in order for you to get the best outcome, you need an intermediary. So which is why now I think it's come to a point where it's going to start being mandatory to have licensing. But again, it's also a bit far-fetched for me to have a FIFA license, which is obviously the benchmark. But I'm only operating within the confines of the PSL.
Are you saying most agents are not accredited with a particular institution or federation?
Yeah, some. Not to put my head on the block, but to give an idea, some are literally just within a crop of players that they know, and they want to really make a quick buck. So they exploit the talent. This is where we get boys who. I think there was a study that said from about 17-year-old boys globally, they start turning away from football because there's this thing that you train to develop and then you develop to compete. So there are certain phases within a player's life that they have to transition over. So some boys, without the proper coaching or the proper environment, by the time they hit puberty, you're 16, 17-year-olds, talented players, you'll find them wanting to pull out. So it's one of those balances where they've either come into contact with a not so reputable agent or agency. So again, it goes back to what I said earlier about making sure that you do your due diligence. Parents involved. You get even some families who want to exploit. You get an uncle hasn't seen the kid for whatever. You get a dad, 5 years now the boy or girl is blowing up. All of a sudden he feels that he's now the Fabrizio Romano. He wants now to run things. So again, it's just a matter of timing and being able to match your relationships. We
have before, but we get into that, Kifense, one of the reasons why we have a platform like this and talking to people such as yourself and sharing your expertise with us is because, as I've mentioned in my introduction, that it's to inform and to educate. If one is listening right now, they would like to pursue a career, if I may call it a career, becoming a sport agent and also a sport scout. How do they go about doing that?
First and foremost, I think it's education. One, and education is not necessarily in the form of a lecture or a classroom. I mean, in this day and age, we've got technology. To give you an example, initially my career, I started off as a marketing manager. I think throughout my 18 years, I only just transitioned into football, being a paid gig for myself about 3 years ago. So the transition took me about 5 because I was working full time, telecoms, fintech, finance. I've been in most industries. So it took me about the plan again, like I said, organization. Online, I did a lot of research online. The good, the bad, the ugly of the football fraternity. I mean, again, YouTube. To give an example, the platform that you have now has been a whale of educational to me. So it's been a matter of, if somebody wants to get into such professions, first and foremost, just familiarize yourself with the industry. Not everybody's cut out to be a coach, just like not everybody's cut out to be an agent. So look at what I've got, what I call the 80-20 rule. If I lean more towards the 80, I'll deal with the 20. So if something says to me, let's go the agent route, your senses are hitting 80, I'll go that route. So like I said, my coaching career started in the GDL, the Gauteng Development League, for a club in the West Rand, Panorama Football Club. So they are a very, very well-run institution. So a lot of my learnings were there. Some on the job, some I came with my skills. So again, it's just for one to prepare themselves in case an opportunity arises. Research, education, and technology.
The statelessness within development in townships, and a lot of potential are forced, in fact, to track down to up north suburbs to look for opportunities, especially in Johannesburg, actually for both players as well as coaches. In fact, you find that there's massive talent in terms of coaches in the township. Why is it difficult? There's so much stifleness. Why is it difficult for people to get such opportunities? Look, you've taken upon yourself, in fact, you've just started an academy in the township to bring it closer home to those who can have access to it. Why is it difficult? Especially now that we have federations like SAFA who are supposed to be doing something in looking after such structures.
So I think the difficult element when I put Biggie is the fact that people don't have access to information. So again, taking it 10 years back, smartphones were not something that everybody had. And even with that, it was almost difficult to get your higher LSMs, your coaches coming into the townships. I'll give you an example with the BSI Football Academy, where we are currently at work. We've got a partner with the EPL side, Wolverhampton Wanderers. So every year we actually bring the coaches over from Wolverhampton Wanderers to South Africa. The youth development coaches. We have a week's camp. So what we've done is, we've literally just had our last, we call it the BSI Wolves Under 13, where it's 12 teams over 2 or 3 days. But we have coaches workshops, we have team workshops, we have contact time with these coaches, just for them to share the expertise, because we all can't go to Cat 1, Cat 1 academies overseas. So why not bring those academies to us at a minimal cost? So it's always that brand association where we look at developing underprivileged kids. Again, to give you an example, the BSI Football Academy, we've adopted an under-13 team from Alexander, Alex Future Stars. I think the one's actually trended on the socials, TikTok. Mason Greenwood liked one of their videos. They were hit, I think, 33 million views. You know, so remember, these are 12, 11-year-olds who are underprivileged, have got no access to a smartphone, but 33 million people actually saw them. You know, so you couldn't say that 10 years ago. You know, so it's all in the power of technology, and using our connections as experienced marketers to obviously bring bring the talent, and that meets the opportunity.
Yeah, about to wrap up the show, sell yourself, talk to the viewers out there, tell them about what you do as El Casico. I beg yours. Yeah, talk to them, sell yourself, sell your academy. Anyone who'd like to join the academy, how can they go about doing that? And yeah, we'll get into another question after.
No problem. So for the BSI Football Academy, all info and inquiries, please email info@bsisports.com. We've got boarding facilities, we've got a club program. So if you initially want to just test the waters, you're more than welcome to actually come through for the club program. And then with El Casico, we run biannual tournaments, one in Easter and one in the festive season. So it's in Fosterus. It happens twice a year. Come through and join us.
And where is BSI located? Where can they find you?
So BSI, our offices are in Linksfield, by Haddle Park Golf and Recreation.
Linksfield to Edenvale?
Yes.
Okay.
Our offices are there, and our training facilities are Sandringham High.
Okay.
Yeah, so both our academy boys and club program boys train at Sandringham High, but our main offices are in Haddle Park in Linksfield. And remind us about the division that is there within BSI. So for the club program, which is going to be participating in the Safa Gold 1 Regional League, we've got under 15, under 13s, under 15s, under 17s, and under 19s. And then for the academy side, we've got what we call the Youth Development Program, which caters for boys that are under 13 to under 17. And then we've also got the Elite Development Program. So that's your post-matric. So with the EDP, we're also offering a course in sports management. Okay. A 1-year course that you can bridge if you want to further your studies, or while giving you the life of a football player. So it's 5 training sessions a week. There's sports science involved. It's contact time with the coaches. Again, one of our head of football was actually a coach in Manchester United.
Wow.
You know, so it's contact time with UEFA licensed coaches. Bringing it down again, we've also got expanded and just bought the 4th tier status. And it's called the Hollywood Bets Men's Regional League. We've just added a team of our own. We are playing with 17, 18-year-olds. And we're doing quite well. So again, it's just forming pathways. Everything from under 13s right through to an under 23 player.
Kifense, we always see goodwill games, tournaments. You mentioned about Phillies games earlier on, and they happen across the country, if not across the province. But we have never seen a particular player who stands out at those tournaments being perhaps elevated or given an opportunity, be it within the Motsepe Foundation Championship or within the Betway Premiership League itself. Why is that?
Actually, there are a couple of names that come to mind that I've seen crossover, if I may. The pathway from Kasi. People refer to it as unorganized football. You know, the likes of Nkosnati Ononobu, known as Neymar. You know, he's played for JDR. He's played for a number of NFDTs. He's played for Baroka. So there are about Blackberry.
I was about to talk about Blackberry. My question is prompted by Blackberry, who was playing recently in Mudagasi Football Club. He was doing terrific work in those tournaments. And to this day, in fact, I thought maybe one big team will snatch the boy and maybe ply his trade in that particular team.
So I'm about to express an unpopular opinion. These players, again, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. From unorganized football to structured football, there's a huge difference.
I get you.
You know, so there's governance. You know, when you come to professional teams, there's a certain way of working. if I may. There's times. There's just like you. There's a call sheet for you. There's a call time for you. With these boys, within the confines of ICAS, they are idols. You know, it's either their way or the highway. You know, and now when you have to take that and then implement it where it's structured, you almost get pulled back by that riff to say, nobody actually sees me here. I'm more of a god than I am here. You know, and they always get pulled back by that sense of acceptance, if I may.
Will I be correct to say that's the reason why the likes of Skapi Malatsi, Yochabupure, they couldn't stand the test of time at Chiefs?
So to a certain degree, but we were blessed to see that talent actually play over a couple of seasons. If you move those, the very same concept to the boys now, you don't get longevity in those players. The likes of Blackberry,
yeah,
quality player, but can he last 2 seasons? No. And again, we also have to take it back to...
It goes back to Squama. Is it Squama?
Squama. Yes.
He has been to many teams, but as you say, in fact, the longevity there, he couldn't last.
And that's the thing. I mean, personally, I know him. He's a good friend of mine. We've spoken in a number of times to say how he plans on solidifying his stature in the pro ranks. I think when he broke into Baroka,
yeah,
you know, he obviously took the element of unstructured football into structured and organized. Remember, this is football as a business. For every point that
exactly.
We are
football
not.
Is commercialized now.
Exactly. You know, so he outgrew it. You know, but right now he's owned up to it. A very, very talented player, and yeah, he's giving back in ways that other players may not see fit.
I'm about to let you go. Why can't we have the Nkotas, the Mufukengs, the Mbogazis in other PSL teams?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Biggie. The talent is there, first and foremost, but we just need more of the scouts. More of the teams to come to the people. You know, 9 times out of 10, the people are going to the teams. Let the teams come see us. You know, I mean, right now we had about 15 in our last edition. The final between Young Pirates and Katoras Juventus, both structured teams. Both teams are under 23. You know, 15 played in front of about 15,000 people. And in as far as I know, I think we've already got interest from 2 clubs. We've had what we call the Scouts Corner, where we had a president of one of the PSL teams join us, and we had about 2 scouts from the NFD. So the impact is there. We just need more of that to replicate across the country.
Where I'm going with my question, teams like Kaizer Chiefs are struggling. And I remember back then, under the tutelage of Athazwane, Chiefs was flourishing because he played these youngsters, your Blom of this world, and many other youngsters. In fact, he even took them to the semi-finals of the CAF Confederation Cup until Stuart Baxter came into the fold and he threw the spanner at Wax. And look where they are now. And Chiefs, they've got the best development side, or if not reserve side, within the Betway Premier League, but they're struggling. Is it because it's about the commercialization of football? It's manifest, or what is the problem?
So again, it goes back to one central thing: information. We have got the databases in the townships, you know. And again, if I had to reverse it, we've been to a point where we send kids in truckloads in a bus, you know, but never get positive response. Okay, cool. That would speak to the quality of the coaching at grassroots. Now, again, just to reference the president of the Safa Ikuruleni, President Jopung Tunu, credit to him. He's actually accredited a lot of coaches, you know, and even the standard of football. In your Timbisa, your Davidson, your Forstloras, Katlohome.
Yeah, it's flourishing.
It's flourishing, you know, all because of coach the coach, if I may. You know, they now understand, again, just also give credit to Walter Steenbok before he stepped down.
Yeah.
He had the TDS programs in place, which obviously filtered right through to grassroots. So now boys understand simple tasks like in-step ball control, as opposed to there's this new phenom where they dancing on the ball. 100%, it's good for the crowd, but again, for commercial value, not so good. You know, so again, it's just for us as tournament organizers to now call out and reach out to your PSL, NFD, even ABC Motsepe teams to just come see the talent in and around the townships. You'll find gems.
Kifense Moagi, let's leave it at that. I hope this is not your last visit right here to us, Biggie on Sport, and maybe you'll bring some of the prolific, if not key players, who will come and share their stories as well as their career and talent as well. And yeah, we wish you all the best. But before I let you go, just share your contact details, your socials, and also perhaps a physical address of where BSI is, as well as El
Clasico.
I find it difficult to pronounce this.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Please.
So on our socials, starting with El Clasico Cup, on Facebook, it's El Clasico Cup Sports Network. On Instagram, it's El Clasico_Cup. And yeah, those are the 2 pages for our social grams. My personal handles are Kifense Moagi on Facebook and Kifense_Moagi on Instagram. And then for BSI, it's BSI Football on Instagram. Our address is 122 Club Street in Linksfield. Thank
you so much once again for coming through. Any message to any youngster out there?
Boys, a message from myself is just keep performing. You never know who's watching.
There you have it. That was Biggie on Sport. Kifense Moagi was my guest. As we always say, we say what they won't say. But above all, make sure that you like, share, and above all, subscribe to our socials as you see them on YouTube. Until then, sharp sharp.